Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for another Gameweek 8 preview. Today I'm joined by FPL Salah to have a look at this one. We need a lot of tips and advice, mate. I feel like this is probably the toughest game week so far in terms of overall decision making. A lot of managers still deciding whether to activate the wildcard button. A lot of managers on the wildcard. We need some tips and advice for someone that's, FPL elite. What have you got for us? First of all, how are you? How was your last game week, though?
Yeah, I wouldn't say elite, Jack. I mean,
okay, hang on. I've got to interrupt you there. The rank that we can see on the screen is not that important. Not even just for this season, but at this stage of the season as well. I don't need to go back and look through your illustrious history once again. I don't need to do that. I won't embarrass you. There's no need, but the people know. The people know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just been a weird start to the season. I had a good few first weeks, but it's been like a really bad start for a lot of managers and a lot of engaged managers. I put out a tweet this morning about the top, the top 10 best ever FPL players that have been ranked by FPL Research, like the current top 10 best, and the highest ranked was 28k, right? There's one guy at 28k and the rest were like 1 million and above.
Wow.
So, and it's the same across like the top 1000. It's been an odd season, and I'm hoping obviously the tide shifts a bit because it's getting tough.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's mainly due to, I would say, like a part of the reason is the Chelsea United assets, which were popular and they didn't perform, but I think that in terms of like the template as well, there's been a lot of players who haven't been performing, and players like Watkins, going kind of ballistic. And I think I would say a lot of people who wildcarded early, got him in, or wildcarded last week, got Watkins in and done well. But yeah, it's just a kind of combination of things. But I think the main thing was United and Chelsea assets. But as you said, it's nothing to panic about. It's just the fact. Look, it is only game week 8. There's plenty of time to go. Like the rank, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant at this stage, but you can easily finish in the top 10k if you're ranked at 3 or 4 million right now, or even the top 1k. The points are actually really bunched together as well. Yeah. It's just the fact that what I find quite odd about this season is just that so many kind of engaged and seasoned managers are all collectively having a poor start.
I know it is very cliche to say that ranks are super volatile at this stage of the season, and one good game week can get you a million rise. Mm-hmm. However, I think this season in particular, because we're seeing a lot of experienced FPL managers that are doing badly, and perhaps I'm not for 1 second saying that people that are doing well are not experienced FPL managers, but as a percentage, based on what you said there, FPL research, in theory we should see these guys catching up to the top guys anyway. And we've not really had super high scoring game weeks either. So I think this season, perhaps even more than the normal, cliche of saying, "Don't worry about your rank." Perhaps even now, it's more pertinent to say that. Or I could just be, metaphorically cuddling myself and other content creators out there and saying, "Don't worry, guys, we're not doing that badly," when really we are. Who knows? Anyway. Let's talk about your team from the last game week. Quick 30-second rundown. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it wasn't a disaster. I got, I think, a 300k red arrow.
Yeah.
Which at my rank, it's a small red.
Yeah.
But Haaland blanked. Didn't have any double game weekers. Morris scored. I had Son in there who done well. Watkins was around about 23% owned, and he got a 23-point haul, and that was one of the reasons one of the reasons for my red arrow. Really annoyed about Saka because obviously he scored, but he gave away 2 penalties. Could have had a hat trick. That would have made the game week. And obviously the Estepinian own goal as well. So a frustrating game week, but it wasn't a disaster.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get. What have you actually done wrong in your team, that we can say that's a mistake? I'd argue not very much at all. The first thing that I will come to, though, is the United midfielders.
Yeah.
We need to talk about them again. Just talk how you feel. How do you feel in your heart of hearts about these players now?
Yeah, it's frustrating because the thing is, my kind of view on fixtures, Jack, and
Yeah.
kind of proven FPL assets. I think I said this last week in the video as well. That didn't transpire last game week. I'm hoping, the next two game weeks, I get something out of them at least, because the thing is, a lot of people are wildcarding this week, and next week. I'm thinking of holding my wildcard for the game week 10, if all goes to plan. And those who are wildcarding this week won't have the United midfielders. Whereas, so for me now, they're a huge differential, but also a huge risk, because everyone's getting rid and getting the likes of Maddison, Diaby, etc. They're getting Watkins in, Bowen. So it's even more pressure on their shoulders now for my team. But the thing is, they've got Brentford at home next, which is a good fixture on paper, and then they've got obviously Sheffield United away. So the thing is, I kind of feel I'm a bit trapped, but I still wouldn't get rid of them. I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't wildcard this week was because I was really uncomfortable getting rid of those United midfielders ahead of those two fixtures. Now, maybe I'm being a bit too patient with them. Only time will tell. But I do feel my team is okay this week. Obviously, I think we've got kind of injury concerns with Saka and Estepinian, and possibly Son as well, because he didn't train today. So I guess we'll see what happens at the end of the week. There is a small chance I could be forced into a wild card by the end of the week. I mean, if Estepinian's out, Son's out, and Saka's out, then maybe I should, because my plan is to wild card in game week 10, and if I need to take a hit this week, I don't think it makes a huge, a lot of sense to take a hit like a week or two before a wild card. Whereas I might as well just do it now. So I guess we'll see what happens. A lot depends on the injury news.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your current thoughts for transfers. How many free transfers do you have, first of all?
I've got one free transfer and 0 in the bank.
Okay. As it stands, you only have 2 fit defenders, which means that you'd have to probably make a transfer there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it. So I mean, obviously, even if Estepinian was fit, like if everybody was fit, my plan was this week was to do Estepinian to Pedro Porro. So Estepinian being out doesn't really make a huge amount of difference, but obviously Saka and Son do. So obviously, if best case scenario, everyone's fit, Estepinian and Saka somehow make recoveries. The plan is Estepinian to Pedro Porro for the next 2 weeks. They've got Luton this week, and then Fulham at home next week. Fixtures wise, you can't ask much better. Porro's been extremely attacking. A great pick for the next 2 games. However, if Saka's out, then I'm probably looking at possibly keeping Estupinian if he's fit. But if he's not, then Saka to Maddison, and then Estupinian out for a hit, possibly. I'm really weighing up. Is it worth a -4? Or should a wild card now? But if Son's out, then I'm looking at either playing Archer or taking a hit there for Son, depending on how long he's out. So
it's getting messy there, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, then it gets messy. So I'm treading on thin ice here this week. To be honest, I'm really, really kind of scraping the barrel. The bench is down to spare bones. So it all depends on the injury news end of the week. The press conferences.
It's such a tough week.
Yeah.
The thing that honestly stands out to me right now, I've made that transfer, put Porro in for Estupinian, and I'm comparing it to my current wildcard draft for this week in isolation, and it's very comparable. To be honest, this week this team potentially is even better than the team that I'm going to have for next week. Obviously, if these players are fit, I'm imagining that Saka is fit for this hypothetical scenario. It looks all right, and if that is the case, why wildcard this week if you can limp through? It's one of those though. But people in the comments I know are saying, it looks terrible. Actually, you've still got United midfielders in there. You've got Mbeumo who's underperforming. You've got Pickford in goal, for example. But what do you think? Because if you are comparing those players to players that you would be getting in, Areola's not got the best fixture this week.
Yeah,
Newcastle, it's a tough fixture. Which 3 midfielders would you put in that have better fixtures or are in better form than these guys? There are players there, but Diaby's got a knock now. Eze's out.
Yeah.
Gordon's suspended for example. Do you want to go to Ward Prowse? I don't know. Like, do you get what I'm kind of saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think even obviously if the injuries that have happened are obviously not good for the players who haven't wildcarded, but they're also a bit tricky for those who are on a wildcard as well. Because who do they get now in midfield? if Diaby's out, if Eze's out, they were two really good enablers. So now you maybe have to look at maybe going for possibly a 4-4-2 or a 3-4-3. Downgrading the midfielder to a 4.5. Your fifth mid, and getting possibly Haaland, Alvarez, and Watkins. Possibly Solanke. So a lot of decisions to be made. And what you said at the start there was one of the reasons why I didn't pull the wild card earlier, because I saw my team and I liked it. Maybe they're not they're not on form, if you know what I mean, in terms of, Mbeumo's blanked in the last 3 games. Bruno and Rashford haven't been pulling up trees. I understand that, but with those next 3 games, I mean, I do think on paper I've got a good team this week. I don't think I need to wildcard if everyone's fit.
Yeah.
And then game week 9, if you look at that team for game week 9, it's phenomenal. Like, I've got United at Sheffield United. Mbeumo's got Burnley. Son and Udogie have got Fulham. City, I've got Brighton at home, which is probably going to be a high scoring game. And then I've got Turner, at home to Luton.
Yeah.
And then I've got Saka at Chelsea. So, I mean, for the next 2 game weeks, I really, really like this team. And it's just a fact of, I just need to, for my players to kind of start performing on their fixtures, really.
I mean, you're so right. I've looked at quite a lot of content creators' teams this week, their current teams. I put them into Fantasy Football Hub's kind of team evaluation, getting a team rating tool, and this is the best one I've seen. Still, without a wild card, your team rating is 97%. It's really, really high. And game week on game week, as you say, game week 8 looks good. Game week 9 looks phenomenal. You get to game week 10, it drops down, but then you're saying that is where you would hit the wildcard button, so it doesn't matter. So over the next 2 weeks, would you really wildcard a team that's getting a game week rating of 93, then 95%? It seems a little bit pointless. Again, as you say, it's going to come down to injuries, but even taking a hit, would you be opposed to taking a hit?
I'm not sure, because I do think, okay, if Saka's injured and I bring in Maddison, I do think, Maddison can, with those fixtures, make up that -4 in 2 game weeks.
Yeah.
With those fixtures, right? The problem is with Estepinian, the defender I bring in, will he cover that? And on top of that, I really need Botman back for game week 9. I know Eddie Howe said that, he might be back for game week 9, but we never know Eddie Howe.
That clown.
So yeah, I'm banking on Botman being back. I mean, I'm kind of banking on Baldock being fit as well, because I do really need a kind of playing substitute there as well, just in case I need him. So yeah, it depends. As I said, I'm scared on thin ice in these last next 2 or 3 game weeks for sure.
It's so tough to know what to do. I honestly, I am having some regrets over putting the wild card now.
Yeah, it's good though. I like this. I like it when you've got decisions to make in FPL and everyone's going in different directions. Because now, you've got people who are wild carded last week, people who are wild carding in game week 8 and 9 and 10. So and also we've got Haaland's tough fixture on as well, where a lot of people are probably gonna not captain him for the next 5 or 6 game weeks. So yes, I like that. I'm looking forward to the next 7-8 game weeks.
One player that we've not mentioned is obviously your man Salah. Thoughts on him over the next 2 game weeks? Couple of seemingly good fixtures. Is that not kind of twisting your arm a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons, obviously, to wildcard. However, I do feel that you shouldn't wildcard for one player. I mean, honestly, I cannot wait to get Salah back in my team. I mean, obviously, he's my favourite player. He's my guy. And, I felt, I think I said this a few weeks ago, I felt bad actually not starting with Salah. That was the only regret I had this season, was not starting with him. But he will come in game week 10. And I just really need him to stay quiet in the next few game weeks, because he has got great fixtures. Brighton away is fantastic. And then, Everton at home. I doubt he stays quiet in them too. There's really good fixtures for attacking, but he will come in. But is it worth wildcarding my whole team? I've got other players there who are good as well. 2 United midfielders, possibly could keep up with Salah in the next 2. So that's what I'm hoping for until I bring him in.
Looking at the AI recommended transfers for your team this week is really interesting, because you got to remember, guys, this is no kind of personal bias here at all. This is algorithmic, done based purely on stats and AI. The recommended option is actually to bank your free transfer for this week. Now, this I think is suggesting this before we have the concrete news on Estepinian. which would change. If Estepinian's predicted minutes or expected minutes and therefore predicted points do drop significantly, that would probably change things. But such is the strength of your team in a sort of a data sort of sense, looking at it statistically. The AI is saying to bank, alternative option here is to sell Rashford for Maddison, which I don't, maybe some people would agree with that. But if you look at the actual predicted points here again, it's really very similar over the next two. Yeah, Maddison is slightly ahead, but you cannot deny the fact that Rashford does have two good fixtures.
Yeah.
It does, though, get to a point now, which I think is the point where I was at, which made me trigger my wild card, which I just didn't want to see, Bruno, Rashford, Onana. I didn't want to see them in my team again. I couldn't face it. I was sick to death of them, and I wanted them gone. Yeah, at the end of the day, we do play this game for fun, the majority of the time, if we can. So at what stage do you think with these guys that it's less about the fixtures and the predicted points and more just, they're just annoying me right now?
Yeah, I mean, the midweek result in the Champions League wasn't the most, convincing either.
Exactly.
So I think there does come a point where you've got to look at, stats are there, but you've got to look at, kind of personal factors, like human factors, like what's going on at the club.
Yeah.
There's obviously friction there with Erik ten Hag. There'll be friction there with the players. Rashford got taken off early again. Is there something going on there? So it's hard to quantify, is it? It's hard to know when to time that and when to pull the trigger. Obviously, those who weren't patient and got rid of them weeks ago were they're benefiting now, and guys like me who have kept the faith are paying the price. I don't know. I mean, the answer to that question is I guess it's just like a gut feel where you've got to when it comes to that sort of situation. It's really go with your gut. There's no really right or wrong answer,
which is so tough because when there is no clear right or wrong answer, like in this week in particular, I think this is the hardest week so far that we've had in terms of decision making. It's just one of, I mean, how will you come to a concrete decision? It will be based on the press conferences on Friday.
Yeah.
What would have to happen for you to wildcard then?
I think I'd have to have Estepinian, Saka, and Son out this week for me to wildcard.
And Son out, okay.
Yeah. If it's Saka and Estepinian, then it's 50-50. Then it's 50-50. But if it's the three of them, then I've got to do it. And just on that transfer earlier you said about Rashford to Maddison, that's actually not a bad move. That recommended transfer I think is a good move because I'd probably be confident that Maddison outscores Rashford over the next two, but I'm not confident enough to actually make that move. But I know a lot of people have done that this week, and a lot have gone Rashford to Son as well, which I think if I didn't have Son, that's probably something I would do. But for Maddison, it's close.
I quite like that move just because you're not completely ripping up your team and getting rid of all the United players. Yeah. Because, as you say, there's no doubt those two fixtures are good fixtures.
Yeah.
However, you are, your exposure to them as a club based on all those human factors that you've just said, that their team is reduced, which is also a good thing. Because if they do well, then Fernandes, who would stay, would probably be involved. But the risk is definitely lowered if you were to go from Rashford to Maddison. I feel like in such a kind of almost confused state as to what the best thing to do is based on each FPL manager's individual teams here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all team dependent. It's all team dependent.
Yeah.
And see, I'll give you an example. If all my players are fit here, like Botman was fit, I had a full fit team, and I had 2 free transfers. That's probably the move I'd make. Would be Rashford to Maddison, because if I've got nothing else to do, that's probably a slight upgrade. But when I'm in a situation where I've got injured players, etc., and only 1 free transfer, then you've not really got that luxury.
It's true because we've seen an unbelievable amount of injuries this past couple of weeks, really, that have just shaken things up entirely. You're right. If Botman's fit, he's in. I mean, you could just happily bench Estepinian, as I'd plan to do for the next 2 fixtures. So fine. Then you get that amazing fixture run. Yep. Saka fine. Son fine. I mean, Saka playing through the next 2, you get that amazing fixture run.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you can deal with the United players as you like, as you say. Rashford to Maddison here, easy transfer, keep going. But obviously, FPL is less simple than that. Just last week, I was thinking, do we even need to wildcard? Is it worth wildcarding just for Salah, which it seems as if a lot of people were doing? Could you not hold it until Gameweek 18, 19 for that City double, that Brentford City double? But now that's all gone out the window. I don't know.
Yeah. Some people are still doing that. Some people are still saving their wild cards until that double. I don't think I could do it though, with the state my team's in at the moment.
Fair enough, mate. I mean, look, we don't know what you're going to do right now. Team reveal
Yeah,
article is going to be huge. I'm going to be looking out for it Friday evening, Saturday morning on Fantasy Football Hub's website. What do you think right now? What do you think? Obviously, you'd be guessing on team news, but
yeah.
what do you honestly think right now you're going to end up doing?
My gut feeling is that Estepinian will be fine, and
Okay,
I think Saka will be out. Because
right.
the thing is, Estepinian came on off at half time, and it was weird that we didn't hear anything after the match. We only heard about it today. I found that quite, bizarre. But I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah, so I think he might be okay, and I think Son will be okay, because Son hasn't been training in every training session, like for the past few weeks because of his injury. So Spurs have got another training session at the end of the week, so that'll tell us whether he's fit or not. I think Son will be fine. I don't think Saka will. That's just a gut. I think he's been taken off injured in the last two games now. So I probably think, on that basis, I'll probably do Saka to Madison. But who knows?
Okay, okay. Link to that down below in the description to get Abdul's final team reveal. My final question for you this week, because I do want to end it with some concrete, solid advice. It's been a little bit more kind of waffly from me anyway, just trying to understand what the best moves is for every sort of FPL manager in this one. But let's talk about captaincy for Game Week 8, because I think that is one
Yeah,
where you'll have your opinion. Who is the best captain option for Game Week 8?
I think his son quite clearly.
Okay.
He'll be my captain for sure.
Des-
Unless obviously
Despite despite the yeah, because there's what about his minutes? Are you a little bit concerned even if he does play the game, he might come off early?
yeah, I am. But I still think I'd say maybe 65 to 70 minutes you'll probably get, if he's taken off early. That's kind of where he's been taken off in the past, first like 6 game weeks when he's been taken off around that mark. And I'd still fancy that against Luton, and then Haaland, 90 minutes against Arsenal. Because that is their toughest game of the season.
Yeah.
And Son obviously is a midfielder, gets more points for goals and the clean sheet point as well. So yeah, if Son is fit, it's going to be Son. If Son is out though, it makes it interesting because obviously, obviously I think the default is Haaland, right? But what about Bruno and Rashford?
Oh, don't even start.
But that whole,
Don't even go there.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think
Don't
I can
do
do
that to
it.
me.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't
Maybe
know.
next week, but not this
Yeah,
week. Surely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Surely not. It was interesting. I mean, one of the reasons why I was more happy to wildcard, but I don't particularly personally like the Brentford at home fixture. I think Brentford are very good against top six teams. We saw, well, ever since they've come back into the Premier League, they've got one of the best records of any team against top six teams. Just rate Thomas Frank very, very highly as
Yeah, same.
a manager in those games in particular. But yeah, Brentford do look a little bit weaker of late. I will say that. Who knows? It's so hard, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for this one, mate. Thank you very much for well trying to help me out personally. I do still feel confused, even though I've already pressed the wildcard button. But for your team, it's going to be up in the air until deadline. Guys, if you're feeling a little bit like me and you want some help, then head on over to Fantasy Football Hub. Link to that is down below. If you want to get your current team rated for free, like we've seen with Abdul's in this video, go and do that. If you want to get a potential wildcard draft rated for free as well and have a look at how that looks over the upcoming game weeks as well, you can go and do that for free. And then if you like what you see and you want to have a go at all the other stuff on the site, then it's a 7-day free trial right now. And it's also 30% off. So yeah, take advantage of that, guys. Abdul, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank
Good luck
you.
this week. And yeah, we'll see you after the international break.